On a picturesque day in October 2003, fishermen on the Atlantic Ocean made a grim discovery: a female body adrift in the water. Upon the arrival of law enforcement, the inspectors were taken aback by the condition of the body, which was rendered unidentifiable due to prolonged submersion in seawater. The sight of rock crabs clinging to the corpse's pale thighs nearly caused the investigators to retch. Faced with significant challenges in identifying the remains, the case, which appeared to have reached an impasse, received new leads that hinted at the underlying truth. This raises the question: who would go to such lengths to dispose of a body in the Atlantic without leaving any evidence? Could there be a concealed conspiracy at play? Stay engaged with this unfolding case, as the most compelling developments are still to come. Be sure to watch the entire video to uncover the identity of the perpetrator. Additionally, do not forget to subscribe to the channel for notifications on new video releases. This incident occurred in New Jersey, USA, a state known for its economic prosperity and as a favored tourist destination, particularly for its idyllic beaches like Cape May. However, on that fateful day, a shocking revelation disrupted the vibrant atmosphere of this coastal haven. On October 8, 2003, as fishermen set out for their routine catch, one of them spotted an unusual object floating on the water's surface. Upon closer examination, he was horrified to find it was a female body, prompting an immediate call to the authorities. The police arrived shortly thereafter. Inspector James Thiel arrived at the crime scene to recover the body and perform an autopsy to ascertain the cause of death. He was taken aback by the condition of the victim, whose body showed no signs of identification due to prolonged submersion in seawater. The sight of a rock crab clinging to the inner thigh of the corpse nearly caused him to vomit. This detail led the New Jersey State Police to deduce that the body had sunk to the ocean floor, as rock crabs inhabit such depths. Since the unidentified female body was discovered in the Atlantic Ocean, the U.S. Coast Guard, USCG, collaborated with the state police to carry out the autopsy. The findings indicated that the victim had been murdered, as evidenced by a large metal chain wrapped around her ankles and tape binding her feet and hands. The police speculated that the perpetrator may not have foreseen that the body would eventually surface. However, the method by which the killer disposed of the body in this location remains a significant mystery. Inspector Thiel considered the body to be the sole clue, making the identification of the victim critically important. Nevertheless, the police encountered numerous challenges that could potentially lead the investigation to a standstill, as the fingerprints on the body were wrinkled and distorted from the extended exposure to seawater. Undeterred, the police sought the assistance of experts who employed a technique involving wrapping threads around the finger joints, injecting a saline solution into the flesh beneath, and then rolling it up, which facilitated the extraction of usable fingerprints. The identification of the unidentified female body as Kimberly Holton, a 16-year-old who had been reported missing in Delaware approximately 65 kilometers from Cape May, occurred over a week after crucial evidence was collected. In response, the New Jersey State Police promptly assembled an investigative team and dispatched them to Delaware, where the victim had resided, to conduct a comprehensive investigation. According to police reports, Kimberly Holton was born on November 4, 1986, in Kent County, USA. Her early life was marked by adversity, as her biological mother struggled with drug addiction until a child care organization intervened. Subsequently, Kimberly was adopted but faced instability, moving from one family to another in search of improved living conditions. Eventually, a couple in Delaware, Ronald and Lorraine Machette, chose to adopt her. Their presence provided Kimberly with a stable home, allowing her to escape her previous tumultuous circumstances. However, Kimberly's challenges intensified with the arrival of her older sister, Heather, who was also adopted by the Machettes and was a few years older than Kimberly. The Machettes hoped that the two sisters would bond and develop a familial relationship. Unfortunately, this did not materialize. Kimberly and Heather frequently clashed, with minor disagreements escalating into significant conflicts, creating a tense atmosphere within the household. Destiny Andrews, a friend of Kimberly Holton, characterized her as a compassionate individual who had a profound love for others. Andrews believed that if she were still alive, it is likely that she would have pursued a career as a veterinarian or a veterinary technician, given Kimberly's deep affection for animals. Andrews also indicated that Kimberly had confided in her about the challenges she faced in her family life, yet she was adept at masking her pain with a cheerful and optimistic demeanor. This ability allowed her to avoid dwelling on her troubles, as noted by Andrews, who emphasized that Kimberly utilized her vibrant personality to cope with negative emotions. In addition to being a supportive friend, Kimberly was a dedicated student, consistently serious about her studies and never absent from school. Therefore, when Kimberly failed to board the bus one day, Andrews immediately sensed that something was amiss with her friend. Mrs. Welsh, Kimberly Holton's first foster mother from Williamstown, New Jersey, also recounted the hardships of Kimberly's childhood, during which she often experienced hunger and lacked toys like her peers. These harsh experiences left a significant impact on Kimberly's spirit. On the tragic morning of September 30, 2003, just 8 days before Kimberly's body was discovered, she did not board the bus to school as she typically would. After a long day of waiting for her daughter to return, Mrs. Lorraine Machette, Kimberly's foster mother, reported her missing at the police station. The New Jersey State Police were assigned to the investigation, and after Kimberly's body was found submerged in water, they collaborated with the Delaware State Police to gather more information about her background and circumstances. Mrs. Lorraine also noted that this was not the first instance of Kimberly going missing. Kimberly had gone missing, having previously run away only to return home on her own. This time, however, Mrs. Lorraine did not witness her daughter's return, and her growing anxiety soon transformed into fear as she came to the realization that something dreadful had occurred. Based on the available clues, the police suspected that there were numerous underlying issues within the foster family surrounding Kimberly's disappearance. As the investigation progressed, detectives sought evidence related to Kimberly's death. Although they found no immediate signs of injury, they were able to ascertain a cause of death. A subsequent medical examination revealed that Kimberly had sustained severe head trauma, likely inflicted by a blunt object, possibly due to a fall from a considerable height. The most compelling physical evidence uncovered by the detectives was a metal chain used to restrain the victim's ankles. Detective Thiel noted that each link of the chain bore a stamped number, which led investigators to a Lowe's home improvement store located near Kimberly's residence. The store manager accessed the computer system to trace the chain's details, including its length and stamped number, revealing that someone had purchased the chain just 1 day after Kimberly's disappearance, along with a padlock and a concrete block. The timestamp on the receipt enabled authorities to quickly locate surveillance footage from the checkout, which depicted 2 men. However, due to the poor quality of the video and the fact that the items were paid for in cash, identifying these individuals proved challenging. In light of this predicament, the investigators opted to release images of the 2 suspects to local media in hopes of garnering public assistance. Numerous tip calls were received from the public, prompting an immediate investigation into the case. One caller identified one of the 2 men who had visited the store as Robert Brothers. In a surprising turn, Robert himself contacted the hotline to confess that he had been with Jacob Jones when Jones purchased weightlifting equipment, although he denied any involvement in Kimberly's murder. The police found no reason to doubt Robert's statements. When asked why he thought Jones might harbor animosity towards Kimberly, Robert mentioned a name, Heather, who was Kimberly's foster sister and also Jacob Jones's girlfriend. When brought to the police station, Heather tearfully acknowledged that she and Kimberly had indeed had arguments, but these were over trivial issues such as using cosmetics without permission or borrowing a dress without asking. Nevertheless, Heather firmly denied any feelings of hatred towards Kimberly that would lead her to consider murder, emphasizing their bond as foster sisters. "I swear to God, I don't know what happened to Kim. I don't know if Jacob is involved in this or not. I don't know anything about it. All I know is that I am completely innocent," Heather exclaimed to the investigators. Jacob Jones, a 20-year-old sophomore at the University of Delaware, boasted an impressive academic record and had no previous criminal history. According to reporter Jeff Brown from the Dew Post, Jacob was enrolled in the aviation program and was a licensed pilot and instructor at Dover Air Force Base, where he was certified to operate aircraft and often rented planes for personal use. In police interviews, Jacob admitted to purchasing chains, locks, and a block of concrete, asserting that these items were intended for weightlifting. However, the police continued their investigation. Jacob's credibility was called into question, particularly because he was unable to account for the current whereabouts of the items in question. Confronted with the circumstances, Jacob maintained his original statement and promptly requested legal representation. His supervisor informed the authorities that Jacob had exhibited numerous signs of erratic behavior in recent weeks, including tardiness and unexplained absences from work. When present, he appeared visibly agitated and angry. Records indicate that on September 30, 2003, Jacob piloted a Cessna aircraft from the base at 11:45 p.m., returning just 2 hours later. This information led investigators to suspect the involvement of a second individual, who may have assisted Jacob in transporting the body and securing it to the aircraft before it was disposed of in the ocean. Further critical insights were obtained from the autopsy, which revealed that Kimberly sustained severe head injuries consistent with a fall from a significant height. This finding supported the theory that her body had been dropped from the plane, resulting in the fatal injuries. The subsequent inquiry focused on identifying the accomplice and uncovering the underlying motive for the incident. On October 23, 2003, 10 days after Kimberly's body was found, a phone call from Jacob's father stunned the authorities. He reported that Jacob had taken his own life with a firearm in his bedroom. Even more alarming was the revelation that moments before his death, Jacob had confessed to his parents that he and a 23-year-old associate, Michael Keir, were responsible for Kimberly Holton's death. According to Inspector Brown, Jacob claimed that Kimberly was a source of distress for him. Family issues, particularly concerning his girlfriend Heather, troubled Jacob, leading him to believe he needed to rectify the situation. To carry out this heinous plan, he enlisted the assistance of Michael Keir, who had worked as a security guard at the local racetrack alongside Jacob. Although their relationship was limited to a professional context and they did not socialize outside of work, they collaborated in committing this dreadful act. Jacob's confession prior to his suicide shed light on the grim elements of the case, providing law enforcement with vital information to further the investigation and seek justice against Michael Keir. With new evidence in hand, the police promptly summoned Michael Keir for interrogation. According to his account, Jacob had asked him to pick up Kimberly on the evening of September 29, 2003, and take her to a motel to address issues with Heather. Following Jacob's directions, Michael first took Kimberly to a local convenience store before proceeding to a budget motel. Once Kimberly went to the bathroom, Jacob revealed his intention to kill her and solicited Michael's assistance in murdering her and disposing of her body. Michael recounted his reluctance, stating, "I said he was crazy, I didn't want to get involved. I wanted to leave, but he threatened that if I didn't help, he would kill me." He continued, explaining that he ultimately complied with Jacob's orders, restraining Kimberly as she exited the bathroom while Jacob used a phone cord to strangle her and a pillow to suffocate her until she ceased breathing. The crime occurred around 2:00 a.m. On the morning of September 30, 2003, Michael admitted to assisting Jacob in placing the body into the trunk of a vehicle, where it remained for several hours before being transported from Chesswood, Delaware, and subsequently discarded into the Atlantic Ocean. Police inspectors characterized the murder of Kimberly Holton as a deeply disturbing incident, noting the heinous nature of the crime and its brutal specifics. This case not only horrified law enforcement but also unsettled communities across both states. On October 24, 2003, authorities announced the arrest of Michael Keir. Initially, Kimberly Holton's disappearance was perceived as a potential runaway case. However, Jacob failed to consider the ocean's natural elements. When Kimberly's body struck the water from the aircraft, the impact was akin to colliding with concrete at speeds exceeding 200 km per hour. Jacob's lack of foresight and errors ultimately led to the unraveling of his scheme and the revelation of the truth. On January 6, 2004, Michael Keir was found guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit the crime, resulting in a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Although Heather, Kimberly's foster sister, was not charged in relation to the crime, she was mentioned in Jacob's confession regarding various issues. However, there was no evidence to suggest that she was directly involved in or aware of the cruel plan. The case involving the disposal of the girl's body from an aircraft into the Atlantic Ocean stands out as one of the most shocking due to the perpetrator's brutality, stemming from personal conflicts related to his girlfriend. Jacob, one of the key conspirators, callously took the life of an innocent individual. The incident involving the young girl not only stunned public sentiment in the United States but also instilled apprehensions regarding the ruthless and inhumane deliberations that underpinned this crime. Jacob, together with his accomplices, perpetrated this atrocious act without regard for the devastating repercussions they inflicted, rendering the case one of the most chilling and memorable narratives in American history.